Number 8, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, how much lower will the growth forecast be for the year to March 2011 in the half-year economic and fiscal update compared with the Budget 2010 forecast?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the member will just have to wait and see. We've signalled the growth forecasts are likely to be lower. I think anyone out in the street could tell you that. However, they're likely to be better than the 1988 and 89 years when apparently he was the Finance Minister.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker,
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
how does he reconcile not John Key's assertion of the presidency of the United States, but John Key's prediction of an aggressive recovery with the latest economic data showing that corporate tax flows have collapsed a staggering 28% below 2010 forecasts?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, because the Prime Minister was correct when he was referring to the economy turning around from the bottom of quite a sharp recession, which bottomed out in early 2009 and turned around from shrinkage of something like 2 or 3% to growth of 2%. That was an aggressive turnaround. With respect to company tax, as the member will know, it's one of the more volatile tax bases that we have. It tends to drop fast in recessions and rise fast in recoveries. On balance, other tax revenue from other sources is offsetting those losses to some extent, although overall tax revenue is down about $1 billion on what was forecast.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, which of his government's initiatives most contributed to the government deficit growing by almost $2 billion more than he expected in just 6 months since his last budget? And does he, in light of that, now wish that John Key had got his wish and become leader of the Labour Party?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the Canterbury earthquake was not an initiative of the government, but it has had a significant impact on our books. And I'm interested the member might be criticising a deficit being a bit larger than expected when he spent most of the last 2 years telling us we should be spending more to stimulate the economy more.
The Honourable David Cunliffe. Order.
Mr Speaker, in light of the Minister's passionate desire for stimulus, in how many of the last 6 quarters has annualised GDP per capita fallen, according to Treasury data released this week?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I can't answer that question directly, but I wouldn't be surprised if in a recession where the population's been growing and the economy's been shrinking, there will be some quarters where it was negative. What is very surprising is that through the period 2005 to 2008, when everyone thought we were having a boom under the previous government, per capita real GDP incomes actually dropped, which is really quite startling given they were the best economic conditions in a generation.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Now, the Minister's raised an interesting conundrum for us. He seems to have data about the previous government but not his own, Mr Speaker.
Order. The members, it's not a point of order. The Minister answered the question in that he said he didn't have that detailed information about the successive quarters that the member asked about, and I think that's the end of that matter. As further supplementary question, Pesitar Sam Law to Inga.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary to the Minister, how will the updated forecasts compare with the actual economic performance achieved in the 3 years to 2008?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, while the updated forecasts may not be as strong as they were at the budget, they will still look better than the 3 years to 2008. In the 3 years to 2008, per capita GDP actually declined before the global crisis and while the rest of the world was booming. The first task of this government has been to stop the rot of a severely unbalanced economy. And these forecasts will show at least some progress in people reducing their appetite for debt, being careful with their spending, increasing their savings and increasing exports. And that's the kind of change that the economy needs.
Question number 9, Shane Arden.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Agriculture.